Hello friends, welcome back to Technique. In this video, we'll be talking about the cameras on the OnePlus Nord CE5. Now, OnePlus Nord CE5 is priced below the 25,000 price segment. That's the starting pricing of the device. And with card offers, you can get as low as 23,000. So at this price segment, how good is the camera experience on this device? This is powered by the Dimensity 8350 octa-core processor. Pretty good hardware actually. And now let's see how good the camera experience is for the sub 25,000 price segment. And let's also see how the overall performance of the rear camera as well as the selfie camera is. So let's begin. So before that, if this is your first time on this channel, do hit that subscribe button and also hit the bell icon to get notified of all the videos we publish. So let's first talk about the hardware of the OnePlus Nord CE5. Now in terms of hardware, you get a primary 50 megapixel shooter. It's a Sony Light 600 sensor, f1.8 aperture. You get optical image stabilization, and then the secondary camera is an OmniVision 8 megapixel shooter. That's a basic 8 megapixel shooter with f2.4 aperture, and on the front panel you get a 16 megapixel selfie camera with f2.0 aperture. So that's the camera hardware of the OnePlus Nord CE5. Now the rear camera can do 4K 60 fps while the front camera can do only 1080p 60 fps. Now the front camera also has electronic image stabilization included. So that's the camera hardware. Let's go straight into the camera samples to see how it performs. So let's first have a look at the daylight captures taken with this device. So looking at the daylight captures, you can see here the OnePlus Nord CE5 produces pretty good images. The colors are nice and wide, the dynamic range looks okay, and the sharpness levels and color quality looks good. There is no saturation issues and it looks more or less like the natural colors, but you can see that the tones are slightly cooler in nature. That's predominantly OnePlus tuning. Most of the images do look slightly cooler in tone, but nevertheless it doesn't make any major issues. Overall, I would say the OnePlus Nord CE5 produces pretty good results with good sharpness levels, good detailing, and good overall quality with the primary 50 megapixel shooter. So we don't have much to complain here in terms of overall quality. Now looking at the ultra wide 8 megapixel, very average results. You can see here edges are kind of softened and the details looks quite okay. Colors look definitely good and very similar to the primary camera, but overall I would say it's not a great camera experience. It's pretty much average results from the 8 megapixel shooter, and you can see here edges are a lot softer and there is not much of sharpness in the images. Now moving on to the close-up images using the 50 megapixel shooter, it does a good job here. Once again, there is no macro mode, but you can get to decent closeness with the primary camera and can shoot some decent looking captures. So overall the color quality in close-up images also looks good and the sharpness levels are also good. Now moving on to the portraits. Now this is one area where we got mixed results. While the portraits definitely looks good, the skin tones are more or less natural looking. The colors are not very accurate, but nevertheless this is manageable. The edge detection also looks good. Overall I would say portraits did a pretty good job. The skin tones are not really very much off. Actually it definitely looks good in terms of overall quality, especially the outdoor shots. Edge detection is also quite acceptable on this device. Now let's move on to the low light conditions, and you can see here in indoor light it does produces decent results. Now outdoor extreme low light conditions, you can see here there is good amount of details, but the sky is kind of slightly overexposed, but nevertheless the optical image stabilization does a decent job altogether and the noise levels are controlled, but there is still scope for improvement in the low light conditions, especially with the OIS available. So the low light conditions definitely looks quite okay, nothing much to complain, but there is still scope for improvement. Now moving on to the selfies. Now the 16 megapixel selfie camera does a good job here. You can see here selfies are good, the dynamic range also looks good, and the skin tones definitely looks good. The color reproduction is also fine, and overall sharpness levels are also quite good, but the edge detection in portrait selfies is not very accurate. There are a lot of missed edges with the portrait selfies, so that's one area where OnePlus could fix things. Now moving on to the video recording. Now this can record 4K 60 fps video. Now the footage looks good, the stabilization also works very well, but while panning you can see there is a slight jitter happening, but moving videos there isn't much of issues, but if you're panning pretty fastly you can definitely see that jitter. But overall color quality looks okay. Once again it's kind of cooler in tone. Now 1080p 60 fps footage also looks very similar. Again stabilization looks good, colors are nice and wide, although they are slightly cooler in tones. Overall quality and sharpness levels are quite acceptable for this price segment. So there isn't much to complain here in terms of the primary the camera video recording qualities. Now the ultra wide 8 megapixel shooter can do 1080p at just 30 fps. The footage is just average. Once again, you can see here stabilization works well, but the quality is kind of very much average, I would say, in terms of video recording. So this is the front facing camera sample taken with the OnePlus Nord CE5. Now this can record videos only in 1080p at 60 fps and 30 fps. There is no 4K support for the front camera. So that's one of the downside probably, but rear camera does support 4K 60 fps. So you can judge yourself how good the camera quality is from the selfie camera at 1080p at 60 fps. So that was the camera review of the OnePlus Nord CE5. Now as a whole, the camera performance is quite okay, I would say. The rear camera performance from the 50 megapixel shooter was quite good. Daylight conditions, then close-up images, the portraits were good. Low light experience was quite okayish, I would say. And the selfie camera also performed quite well, even though there is no 4K video for the selfie camera. So if you are a person who does vlogging, 4K 60 fps is not there, only 1080p 60 fps is there, but there is good stabilization actually. So that was the camera. But then the sore point of this device is the 8 megapixel shooter, which is kind of very much average, I would say. Again, that's not much usable to. That's probably something which brands should think of upgrading the 8 megapixel shooter. So that is one area where the OnePlus Nord CE5 also falls short. But otherwise, I would say the OnePlus Nord CE5 is pretty decent experience overall. It won't disappoint users. But unless you are looking for the best camera out there, the OnePlus Nord CE5 won't disappoint users. So that was my experience with OnePlus Nord CE5. Looking at the camera samples, what do you guys think? Do let us know your thoughts in the comment section. This is Nirmal signing off. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you in our next video. Have a great day.